So when people come into Antonio Park, they often say it has a really good feel about it. And if we could put those feelings into words, I think most often we'd say it's because we really care about each other. And caring about each other comes in two parts. It comes from wanting to have healthy relationships and get along, and then being able to fix things when they don't. And that's essentially what restorative practices is. So there's two main areas that we focus on with restorative practices. The first is preventative measures, so how do we make sure we have healthy relationships and care about each other? And then the other side is how do we fix things when things go wrong. So if you walk around our school and go into classrooms every morning, you'll see students sitting in a circle and saying how they're feeling, saying the name of other students, doing some fun team building activities. And that's all about getting along. And that's all about how we help our students actually know each other and understand each other. Because the more we know someone, the less likely we are to hurt them. Or if we know someone and we hurt them, the more likely we are to want to fix things. So when we're working with children and our students, we're spending a lot of time promoting healthy relationships, doing things that help them to get along. But we know that there's no perfect world and that things do go wrong. And so when things go wrong, we want to give our students strategies that they can use when they're at school, when they're with their friends, when they're at home, that actually equip them to be able to solve their problems. The great thing about the restorative process is it works everywhere. And it's based on four main questions. What happened? Who is affected? How do we repair it? And how do we move forward? And we call it the WARM approach. That's the acronym. So when we talk about what happened, we're actually looking at the incident. What happened? What were the things that were happening? And then the key question is who was affected? Because we know that when problems come up, it's not just the person who's done wrong that needs things repaired, but they actually need to fix things with the people that they've hurt. And most harm happens between people more than between someone and something. So it's really important that we get to hear the voice of the person who's affected, because in repairing a relationship and fixing things, it's about what that person needs more than a consequence for a broken window or a pushchair or a stolen toy or whatever the case may be. So first we want to know what happened, then who was affected, and then really importantly, how do we repair things? How do we fix things? And when we do that, we're asking the wrongdoer, the person who's created the harm, to actually fix things for themselves. But we're also asking the person who's been harmed, what do you need to fix things? And often students will say they want an apology, or they want them not to do it again, or can they give the toy back, or whatever the case may be. And then it's up to the person who's done the wrong to actually fix things. And that's where accountability from our staff come into play, and parents at home as well. We need to make sure that our person who's done wrong follows through on what they've done. And then finally, and this is my favourite part, the move forward. So how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? And we know that we can rewire our brains if we actually start thinking about what we do. After a basketball game, everyone seems to do the post-game analysis. It's the same thing. If you were in this situation again, what might you do differently? So then when they're confronted with that situation, they've already got the start of some ideas of how they might do things differently again. So that's essentially what it is. Often when something happens, we'll pull the person who's done the wrong aside and deal with them, whether it's a consequence or having a conversation or whatever it might be. But what we forget sometimes is when someone's actually done something wrong, they've actually hurt someone else. And it's actually that needs to be repaired, because we care more about relationships than anything else. That's what matters to us. And so it's really important that we get the person who's been harmed involved in the conversation so that they have a voice, that they feel cared for, and that they actually get the resolution. Because at school, we want our students to go back into the class being friends and getting along. And at home, we want our siblings or your children to be able to pick up where things left off and get along and know that they're valued, know that they're heard, and know that they matter.